After spending a few days along the Amalfi Coast, we then headed up to Florence, which is in the Tuscany region in Italy. We took a train from Naples to Florence. It was about a 3-hour ride, and it was honestly so beautiful to see. I so recommend taking a train between the two rather than flying, because you just get to see the rural parts of Tuscany. And this is even just like in the winter months, like in the summer. I can't even imagine how it would look. We arrived in Florence around sunset time, which was so incredible to see. We actually were able to see almost every sunset possible. I love sunset. I love sunrise as well. I think they're just special times of the day. The architecture in Florence is honestly so incredible. The details on each building is so unique, and everything works so beautifully together. This is us crossing the famous bridge that has a bunch of jewelry stores, but I will come back to that later because we'll see it in more detail. But yeah, the first evening in Florence was so beautiful. We got dinner at Osteria dell'Enoteca. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm so sorry about my pronunciations, but I was really excited to try Tuscan food, and it was delicious. On our second day, we headed to the Central Market. This was really cool to see. There was a lot of ingredients and like food-related souvenirs. It looked really good. It seemed like locals were there as well, which makes me think that it's like worth it to go and get something there. I think the best part about Florence is how walkable it is. You can really just walk anywhere, and it's really easy to get around. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of hubs. Also, there's a lot of like piazzas, which I think are really great places to just like rest or just sit for a while and people watch. I will just say as a reminder to be careful of pickpocketing because these are touristy public places. Okay, now off to probably one of my favorite activities we did there. I knew I really wanted to do a wine tasting because Tuscany is just really well known for their wine. We took this tour that I found on Get Your Guide called Chianti Hills Wineries Tour with Tasting. It was around $30 US, and I felt like that was the best deal because I think most of these tours are around like 100 or just really high up. But this tour was amazing. Our tour guide was incredible. She does the tour in English and Spanish, which I think is really helpful. We started in Florence and they took us on a coach bus to 2 wine tasting places. The first place I think was called Risecoli. This was a cute like family style winery. I actually learned so much about wine as well. Like I had no idea about anything, but it was so informative and very interesting. completely forget what the second place was called, but this was more of like a formal wine tasting, I think. It was very like you have to follow the instructions really carefully and you have to take a bite of cheese and then sip of your wine, like very careful instructions. And it was honestly great to have both experiences. I think the second one, he really like explained like how to taste it and what to feel and what exactly you were feeling. The last one, we were given this like jam with ginger in it and we had to follow it with a sip of wine, and that was so amazing. It was like an explosion of flavor and I loved it. And again, we were seeing the sunset from Chianti. It was very stunning. The next day was more of our shopping day / window shopping day. We just looked around more at the architecture, the statues, the piazzas, everything. Headed off to the famous bridge that has so many jewelers. I will say the prices are definitely higher because of the quality and the material, I'm guessing, and maybe also a bit of like the novelty of it, but it was cool to see nonetheless. We didn't get anything. This was really cool. It's this vintage photo booth. It's like a very traditional photo booth and it was only like €2 per photo. It was really cool to get these like more authentic photo booth pictures. Once again, we are headed off to watch the sunset. This time we went to the Piazzale Michelangelo. I don't know. Again, sorry for how awfully I'm pronouncing these names. But basically we got this pizza and we just ate it and watched the sunset. This was the best view of Florence. There were so many people because I think it's like well known for being the best view. Definitely head there a little bit earlier.
Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry.
next morning, we headed straight to Pisa. We actually flew out from Pisa instead of Florence just because it was way cheaper, and it just allowed us to just see the Leaning Tower. There isn't like too much to do, so I wouldn't spend too much time here if you were thinking about coming, but it was still incredible to see. I mean, it's an incredible piece of architecture, I guess. What we actually did was we went to this cafe that was like outdoors and like right in front of the tower, so we just had a great view of it, and we just chilled there for a little bit waiting for our flight. But again, it's such a pretty place, definitely worth checking out. You can climb to the top, but we had our suitcases with us, so we weren't about to do that. I feel so happy with how this trip went, and I am so grateful that I was able to go on it. I've never been to Italy before, and it is honestly such a beautiful country. Between the Amalfi Coast and Florence, I really think we picked such amazing locations to visit, and I definitely can see myself coming back and visiting again. I just want to end by thanking you for your support watching my previous video and also this one. I am just honestly blown away by how many people have viewed the Amalfi Coast one. I have never had that many people watch a video before, and I'm just very thankful to you all who have watched it. I'd love if you could stick around, subscribe, and support this video in any way that you would feel comfortable with. Thank you so much for joining me on this little recap of my Italy trip, and I will see you very soon.